All right, welcome back to another episode of Daily Wrap-Up-Crew. No book up. I go by the name of Eli. As always, we got Ace with us.
Yes, indeed. It's your boy Ace, and you already know we talking about sex, and I'm a pro. You heard? I used to go 2-4.
Oh, man. What it do? It's your boy Jew. I'm here with my crew. Make sure you follow us on Instagram and TikTok, too. You heard?
Today, we got a special guest in the building, Michelle Hope. She gonna answer some of y'all frequently asked questions, because I know y'all got a lot of questions out there. So, Michelle, let them know a little bit about yourself and where they can find you.
I mean, what's up, everybody? Thank you for having me. First of all, y'all had bars there when you did your intro.
No.
Was...
He had bars. Like,
I mean, okay. It's all love over here. So my name is Michelle Hope. I'm a sexologist, famously known for having a vulva puppet, which we will talk about later. But I have been studying the field of human sexuality for about 15 years now. Oftentimes, people kind of equate it to this simple sucking and fucking mentality, but it is so much more. And my saying has always been and will always be, from the womb to the tomb, sexuality is a part of your everyday life. So in my practice, while I do love sex, all things sex, that's great. I look at how, race, sexuality, and politics intersect and impact how we are able to show up in the world, how we are able to advance in the world, and, kind of the marginalization that happens. So that's like my passion. Right. I'm really sex nerdy about it, but the sex, sucking and fucking stuff that,
That's what draw everybody in. And then,
right. Then I punch you in the face with knowledge, because knowledge is power. So let's speak some truth to this sexual power.
Yeah. Got you.
From the womb to the tomb. I like that.
Yeah, you got to put that on the shirt.
Right? Right? Somebody would win.
All right, so get into the first question that our subscribers had. It says, how should a man be taught about a woman's body sexually? Because a lot of times, men learn through trial and error, or they learn through, watching videos online. So how should a man learn a woman's body?
Well, I think it should start way before we start putting on like heteronormative, a man should know this about our body. I think we should each know about our bodies before we start learning about whoever's, whether it's a man, a woman, or somewhere in between.
Gotcha.
So I think sex education is like the cornerstone of where our understanding of sexuality begins, prior to the act of. Like, think about it. Do you remember your sex ed growing up?
Never had it. I can't recall it.
I had it.
I had it, but I don't.
Yeah, I don't remember. It was only in high school, like what, 10th, 11th grade or something.
And it was like one session where they were like,
here's
put on a condom. That's
right.
It.
Here's some pictures of blue waffle, which is actually not a thing, or like, here's pictures of what
blue waffle. What do you mean? I ain't get
You've never heard of that?
Nah.
You never heard people be like, oh, you see the blue waffle? Like,
nah.
So the story goes, it's like a woman, third world country, I think Africa, and it looks like a very swollen, kind of disfigured labia or vulva area, and it's blue. And everybody was like, blue waffle, not a thing, right? It's actually like a type of medication they can use for like a yeast infection. And here in the United States, we have access to everything super, super simple. But this was, I think, in somewhere in sub-Saharan Africa, where it was a much more like not as medically advanced.
Yeah.
So the medication actually can kind of stain the skin blue. So that's where that myth comes from. But that in itself, like these myths, we saw pictures of mangled genitalia and said, this is what happens if you have sex. We were told not to get pregnant and don't get HIV. But there was no conversation around pleasure.
Right.
Definitely wasn't. Yeah, that was left out. Like all I got was the banana, the condom on the banana, HIV, talking about HIV and AIDS, and maybe some other STDs or STIs. I don't know what they refer to it now as, but that was the bare minimum, pretty much. Like, so.
Right. Even today, I think it's somewhere around 38 states and the District of Columbia requires some type of sex ed, but not all sex ed is the same. Okay. Some places are teaching like an abstinence only sex ed, where young people will go to schools and they'll say, chew up this gum, spit it in a cup. That's what you are if you have sex before marriage. Right. So again, we're not getting to pleasure.
Yeah.
Nobody's given the opportunity to understand how to identify what we want as pleasure, what our partners may want as pleasure, or even how to communicate around pleasure and consent, so I think, to answer your question, where should men learn? Men, women, and all people should learn in sex ed classes taught by a professional in school from, I'm all for the European and Denmark model, from kindergarten to 12th grade. Now, before you start being like, whoa, 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 whoa. I saw your face.
Yeah.
I saw your face.
I'm scared to talk to my kid about like maybe that deep in it, like, oh, how you should be pleasure. I don't know. Maybe I think I can speak to my sons about it, but not my daughter. Like, you know, yo, you got to let him take you down, like, or whatever they be saying. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you?
I mean, you ain't gonna say it like that.
Nah, I'm saying like it's very awkward. I think for me to. I think that's her mother's job. I don't know if that can be my job per se.
Actually, if your daughter is heteronormative,
Yeah.
who will she be having sex with? Men, right?
Yeah. But
So wouldn't it be more affirming if as a man, you were like, listen, I want you to experience pleasure. And if a man is not doing it for you, and you can't just say, dick you down, because what the fuck does that mean? Like, what you trying to do? Beat it up?
Oh man, well,
Okay.
you know what I mean?
But I think this is a good example of like, it should be fathers, and not in a gross way, but telling their daughters, like, I love you. You're my seed.
True.
I don't want a man to disrespect you.
Understandable about that part. Yeah.
I don't want a man to just look at you as a sex object for his pleasure. If you're not getting pleasure, that man doesn't deserve you. And I think that's a powerful thing, but I also think it's a scary thing.
Yeah.
And I think that it's not about in kindergarten or first grade or second grade, you're teaching about sex or the act of, you're teaching about body parts. Because if you can name your body parts, you can, be able to say, don't touch me there.
Right.
True.
Or you can throughout your life, because, young children touch themselves. They gyrate on things. You have kids. They rub up against stuff.
Right.
They don't know that as masturbation for sexual pleasure. They just know sensory-wise, it feels good to touch.
True.
So as parents, as guardians, as adults, caregivers, we kind of need to be able to have an open conversation, whether it's with a girl or a boy.
Right.
And I think it's important for us to maintain equity in those conversations. Like, as much as you would tell your sons, yo, women are not just sex toys, we should be telling our daughters, men are not just sex toys.
True.
Because I get in trouble for this when I say shit like this, but in our community and communities of color, Black communities, we have historically been hyper sexualized through the systems of white suppression.
Right.
And white dominance. So in a lot of ways, I think it's time for us to start peeling back more layers around that, which...
That wants, I want to bring that into another topic, but I don't even know if we should get into that. But let's get to the next topic. Maybe we got some time after, then we get into that. So you talked about, masturbation and things of that nature. I've seen a video where a woman was talking about obviously the infamous Rose toy that women love. And she said, I don't know how much you know about this, but she said that it was bad for a woman to use that toy because it almost desensitizes them in a sense, or the electrons or something like that kind of makes her A count lower than normally and stuff like that. Is that true, false? Is that a myth?
Did this person go to Dr. Seuss University?
She said, no. She said she went to the gynecologist, and the gynecologist said that her A count was low, and it was a product of...
Was it a white man that was her gynecologist?
I have no idea.
A lot of questions there for me.
Right, yeah.
Because again, we have to dispel myths. Sex toys, vibrators, as such, these toys are tools to improve sexual pleasure.
So what do you have there?
Oh, this is a vibrator. This is actually, this is my bedroom candy, but this is what would we call this? This is like similar to a rabbit. So you could penetrate, right? While also stimulating the clitoris, like this. So both of these will rumble. This will have probably a deeper rumble, and this will have more of a high frequency to rub the clit, okay? Clit, 8,000 nerve endings, right? So you get a lot of pleasure there. It's direct. There's even my sweatshirt is a clit.
Oh shit!
Now that you put it like that, like,
shit.
I'm lit like a clit, right?
There go your boys.
Yay, my boss. But I think that, these myths are taught through the lens of the male gaze. Once again, suppressing female pleasure. Because if a man can say, oh, baby, if I can't give you the good dick, well then, you want to use a toy, my dick not good enough? No, motherfucker, that's not it. That ain't.
So is desensitization, is that a real thing for men and women?
I mean, that's not, I cannot specifically comment on the exact science of that. I do not believe that there is enough science. There's not enough data to confirm that to be a thing. Similarly, I know one of the things you asked me about was semen retention. Also, not enough scientific data to tell us if that's beneficial or not. I mean, you could go with Mr. Sebi, Dr. Sebi science, but that's the same man who says a woman should only have like 4 periods in her lifetime.
What? Oh, wow.
He said that?
Or once a year or something crazy.
Yeah.
So, all right. You said the toy that you have right there, it does multiple things at once, right?
Sure.
So if a woman is using this, let's say 5 times a week,
Okay.
and then she has sex with her boyfriend like on the weekend,
Okay.
wouldn't she notice the difference in pleasure? Like,
Why wouldn't they use them both? That's what I don't understand.
How you gonna use that and
this
get dick at the same time?
This is not the greatest example of a toy that a couple could use.
Right.
Because and I'm sorry I didn't bring this one because I didn't know we would go here, but there are actually toys that you can slip into the vagina and you can still insert a penis. So the famous vulva puppet. So it would slip in kind of like a C, like this, and then there's still room. So both you and your partner in heteronormative penetrative sex can enjoy that deep vibration as well as the clitoral stimulation. I know you said you the brother with the moves. I believe you, okay? You know, that beautiful smile, the beautiful milk drop skin. I see you over there shining, okay? Beautiful man. But I wanna reassure you and so many men that a vibrator can never replace human touch. And we have to really get off that.
And you don't gotta tell us that. It's the women that's telling the men that. Like, I don't need you. I can get whatever toy, or I can replace you with that.
So let's explore that.
Okay.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think a woman would say, I got a toy. I can pass on some
because they selfish. They don't care about pleasing their man at the same time.
Because they see a man as only one thing. That's only good for one thing, I should say.
Women like to get theirs. I've been in situations with women where they got theirs and they want you to get off of them after they got theirs. You know what I'm saying? And you hear that.
Are you done yet? Are you not done yet?
You would expect a man to always, nut first, whatever. But there's women that do it and then they be like, oh, all right,
I can't take no more.
I'm done. You doing too much. You know what I'm saying?
How long? I just want to ask, one, when a woman says that to you, what do you say back?
I mean, I better get the fuck off or you want me to go to jail? I mean, it was very...
Clearly. When a woman says stop, we stop. But afterwards, do you have any conversation like, what's up? I feel like I'm not being pleased.
I mean, I've said that before, but you get the, okay, give me a few. And then a few, they sleeping or whatever the fuck they doing. You know what I'm saying?
And again, I'm not saying that you're wrong. I don't know all the women you slept with, but I want to give people who might be listening some like sound tips, right?
Yeah.
So we talk about when you have intercourse, after intercourse, one thing that I always urge is aftercare, right? That's that intimate time and space where you like holding each other and you talk about, well, I really liked it when you did this. It got me really hot, or I was really almost there. Because sometimes men can go for a long time. And sometimes y'all be like, don't. And thinking like it feels good, like,
I mean,
it be hurting, yeah.
In retrospect, some women be like, oh, harder, or that's what they like. But that may not be what they like at the same time. It's just what they hear you should say.
So that's where I'm getting. So this aftercare spot is this spot where you can have conversations and really dig a little deeper, which a lot of us don't like to do because that's intimacy.
Right.
You see, it's a lot easier to fuck than it is to be intimate.
Right.
True.
Like, I will not act like, I couldn't get penis. But sometimes this is a whole hell of a lot easier and comes with a whole hell of a lot less complication and way less intimacy. So maybe for women who are like, nah, I don't really need you, you start asking questions about the level to which they want to engage intimately.
And there's less disappointment too, because you ain't got to rely on somebody to please you.
Like a video game.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? You ain't got to worry about them.
You set your own goals?
So do you believe in sexual compatibility?
I think that there is something to be said about sexual compatibility, but I also think that couples can work through that. But the one thing you got to remember, not all sex with a good partner is going to be good all the time.
Okay.
We often forget that the brain plays the most important role in sex, the act of, right? If you are distracted, which men and women's brains work very differently. And again, this is a very heteronormative conversation, but I'm with 3 beautiful Black men. We gonna go with that, okay? And women's brains think more expansively. We multitask a lot more than men. When men get something, especially like sex, in their mind, they know what the goal is, they know what the target is, and they're going for gold. Right? Like Usain Bolt, right? Okay. So when that happens, if a woman is concerned about your baby mama beating her up at the next child pickup, or the fact that you said you would be home Thursday night for something that was important to her and you stayed out at happy hour with the boys a little too late, or if they're not able to pay bills, or if something is distracting them, whatever it may be, right? Maybe they have a big work project tomorrow and they want to be working, but they also love you and know you want to, whatever. That can really take away from the ability to orgasm. And it's the same with men. If a man is not confident, if there are money troubles, if there are worries, if there is stress, depression, you smoke too many blunts, you drink too much alcohol, you're going to have some dick problems. It is what it is. And your spunk is going to be funky.
Yeah, I don't know why men think liquor is like they Viagra or some shit. Like, yo, I'm getting that Henny dick. Like, yo, she gonna get that Henny dick. Like, I'm like, bro.
Because you last longer when you can get that Henny in your system.
I feel like I don't feel nothing when I got the Henny in the system.
That's why you last long.
I mean, yeah, but that's pointless
But
to
get
me.
a
Like, you know what I'm
cock
saying?
You like numb. You like numb.
Yeah,
I mean, but try other practices. Get a cock ring. Try
Get a what?
edging.
Cock ring makes you last longer.
A cock ring keeps your dick harder. So even if you ejaculate, you're still going to be able to
keep an erection.
Keep an erection. The thing is that men go through something called a refractor period. So after like you ejaculate, your penis goes flaccid because you have to like recharge. Women can multiple orgasm, but if you use something like a cock ring and you're still able to retain the blood in your penis shaft, you can work your way back up to another orgasm. That's why a lot of times when you're watching porn, you'll see porn stars wearing cock rings.
Gotcha. And I think that's what you said about that as far as, you know, guys, when we try to hold on for so long for that nut, like, you know, because we know once we let that shit out, like, it might take us a while to get back up. So
need a nap and a sandwich.
You know what I mean? So sometimes we hold off on it for so long, then it gets to the point like, now we can't even bust. Like,
but then when you hold off on it too long, then when it just ain't the same when it finally let go. It's like, damn, I wasted that shit.
You said I wasted that shit. Like, and I get it.
But I think, like, how much are we spending time being intimate and doing foreplay prior to just trying to, like...
We got to get into foreplay, too.
I think we are lazy.
I love foreplay.
I've seen a clip online where it says it takes a woman 18 to 45 minutes of foreplay to for her to be ready for sex. Like, Can you speak on that? Is that true, false?
Well, here's the thing. Studies show that men and women, it takes about 15, on average, 15, 18 minutes, right?
To do what?
To get aroused. Men, much, much quicker.
Oh,
but
okay.
but like 10 to, or 11 to like 18 minutes to like hit kind of that peak.
Right.
Women, we're like kind of like cars. I mean, we need time to warm up. Remember, our brains are we're thinking about a lot. So I'm gonna need you to make me forget about everything else so I can zero in on the pleasure that I can experience with you as my partner. Because I think we can, at least here, I think we could all agree, when a woman orgasms and you feel that pulse squeezing your shaft, that is a really good feeling.
Right. It's motivation.
Motivation. And when a vagina, because this is the vulva, the whole thing is the vulva, the vagina is the internal place. When that becomes aroused and it engorges with blood and it starts to express moisture, that is that wetness. And you want more of that wetness, right? And it's more pleasurable for men.
Wetter is better.
Wetter is better. So lube is your friend. Like, you should always remember, lube is your friend.
Okay. Yeah, some women, not all obviously, but they feel kind of embarrassed when they kind of need, because they feel like they're unable to get to the wetness that they want to get. So it's almost
like, you talking about natural lube, or you talking about actual like buying lube?
Oh, I'm talking about lube is your friend.
Oh, okay.
Lube is your friend. Okay, first and foremost, it can cut down on that time to get a woman naturally lubed. I don't know how old you are, but I am a woman of a said pleasure. I am no spring chicken, but I am no old crow. So I'm gonna go with Cornish hen, right? But throughout our lives as women, our hormones change.
Right.
Every menstrual cycle, our hormones change. Those hormones can impact our ability to lubricate. All right? So if I'm not fully lubricated, you can create like micro tears, which that is how we can get bacteria. That's also how you spread STIs, right? So lube is your friend. And I mean, if you want to do any kind of butt play, honey, you better have a big bottle.
I mean,
I'm good.
You gotta,
Well, you know, listen, ain't no problems with a little 1-2 back
He
door
always
belly.
brag about eating back there.
Stop it. Don't listen to him.
I mean, and that's fine too. I think that's great. I don't want to shame anyone.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to all the people that do that. I'm just not one of those people that indulge in that.
He don't like
bro. It's a safe space.
Yeah, we here.
Look at this nigga. Look at this nigga.
Yeah.
So like I said, when I heard that.
Wait, before you move on, real quick, you said you love foreplay?
I think foreplay is fascinating. I like the way a female body moves when she's getting aroused.
What you consider foreplay?
Licking nipples, touching them softly, finger popping, everything. I like it. I like making out, tongue kissing, all that. I like doing that
Oh,
shit.
somebody gonna get some extra followers on the gram. Somebody
I
get
swear to
somebody.
God, I
This
always
is news
did it.
to me, but I
That's
mean,
what I'm saying, right? I never hear you say
I-
this, bro.
I always felt like that, bro.
I love that.
And how long would you say you engage in these activities?
I don't know about 18 to 45 minutes or whatever that is, but I prefer to start that way. I swear, I'm not even the type that like to just hurry up and take the panties off. Like, I like to play with the pooms while the panties are still on. It's it makes me excited to see them excited. So I don't know. That's just something. I'm being dead ass.
That's fair. No, I mean, she's shocked over there.
I want to call Cap.
Honestly, listen, I
Wait,
believe you.
I'm sorry. Ain't you the same one to be like, I got mine. Did you get yours? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Look, see, this is the women that have higher value in my eyes. You get what I'm saying? Not everybody gonna be getting the fucking, you know what I mean?
The finger pop 3,000.
The pleasure, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I mean, I apologize. And I apologize to the women that didn't get the pleasure, but
Right. I was like, you ain't got to apologize to me. And that ain't no problem.
I'm saying, like, everybody just don't get it, you know what I'm saying? It's a hit or miss.
But I do think that's fair as well, because with the women that men are more like intimate with, like, you know what I mean? Because we live in such a hookup culture that guys don't necessarily. I'm one of those guys as well. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't necessarily feel the need to spend 18 to 40 unless you my shorty. Like, you know what I'm saying? If you just somebody that I just met and it's just a situationship, or, you know, friends with benefits. My dick is already good to go. Like, I might foreplay with you for a little to get, you know what I mean? But I'm not. Me personally, I'm not gonna invest 18 to 45 minutes. Like, my dick gonna get soft at that time. Like, you know what I'm saying? So,
oh, you would never catch it from me then. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
you got my shit is hard already. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm good to go.
But I think, again, I can't speak for everybody else or every other woman, and I didn't have my fun. Listen, this little red Corvette got miles on it, baby, but these bucket seats is still motherfucking soft. Okay? Soft. And it purrs like a kitten, okay? But to me, when I was younger,
your imagery is on point. Like,
I definitely, when I was growing up and I was younger and I was experimenting, I was exploring, like, I was the type of person who would be like, I'm gonna need you to hurry up. I was that person. And it was just like, oh, let me get mine real quick. And I'd be like the one, like, after club's over and, like, I did my thing, like, trying to take my shoes and, like, tiptoe. Like, please don't let this motherfucker wake up.
Like,
oh, no. Wasn't a walk of shame for me.
Okay.
No. It was me leaving before they wake up. Like, I don't need to talk to you again. I don't need to do nothing. I got what I needed. You proved yourself.
Right.
You let me know what it is. You don't get to have the privilege to know everything about me now. So that's me.
Right.
Today, I would rather not engage and just turn to electronics because not everybody is worth my sensuality. Not everybody is worthy of my freakiness. Not everybody is worthy of my submissiveness. Because I'm a very dominant woman, and very A-type. But oftentimes you will find people who are A-type personalities and very dominant, like, outwardly expressing, are very submissive behind closed doors. And I just don't see the value of letting everybody engage with me in that way. So I do make somebody put in work, but that is all about foreplay because it doesn't even have to start with nipples or pre-panties. It should start at lunch. It should start in text messages. It should start it should start when I'm thinking about meeting up with you. If I'm thinking about making sure my panties and my bra match, you know, in my mind, this person has already put it in they've already started the arousal experience for me because I'm choosing to put on specific underwear, lace, how it feels against my skin. We forget all about that. And we just like, swipe right.
Yeah,
it's a match. It's a nut, right?
I think that's interesting because it's a double standard because when guys is having a hard time getting aroused, you know, the woman is just kind of looking at you like, what, you're not, you know, there's that like stigma of when a guy is taking forever to get aroused, then it's an issue. But when obviously it's a woman, we have to spend that necessary time to get her ready. Most women they looking at you, you jerking your shit off, they look, instead of them participating, they would rather look and be like, well,
what's wrong with that?
Are you gay? We have women on our show. If you can't get aroused, you're gay. It must be like this, that, and the third.
Well, I wouldn't sleep with those women. They're not worthy of you.
Right.
And your erection. And maybe y'all should start listening to your erections. Because your mind is subconsciously telling you
and
your body.
It smells and you got to go.
You know what I'm saying? Like your mind is subconsciously telling your body that maybe this ain't the one.
Right. True.
And like,
I get what you're saying, but if we're gonna go and tell guys that we need to invest more time in foreplay, which is important, then we need to also tell the women that they need to invest more time into foreplay with men. You know what I mean? To get us aroused, like, you know what I mean?
No, I absolutely hear you, but I'm asking you to reevaluate the type of women you're choosing to sleep with.
Well,
and here's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because just like it should be exciting for me to put on those lace panties, you might want to hit your balls off with your favorite cologne before you see me. And the idea is that you already are beginning the process of arousal because it's your senses, all of your senses. What makes you feel sexy as a man, right? Probably smelling good, feeling fresh, having a nice fade, a nice lineup, maybe trimming your balls. I don't fucking know. But my point is that we cannot just look at this like, girl, you need to put in work. And man, you need to put in work. No, we all need to put in work for ourselves. Right. And if you're not willing to put in the work for yourself, to put on those lace panties or to wash under your grundle, make sure your booty hole is clean just in case she wants a tea bag, I don't know. Like, then maybe that is not the one you
answer me without me even saying something. Because I was definitely about to point a finger, but with the way you said it,
like, I just think that it is a hookup culture and we're just so quick to bust a nut.
Yeah.
And what are we chasing?
You can't expect nothing on a hookup.
No.
I agree.
Yeah. But I think as men, we contradicting ourselves too, because you say that we come ready, which is what most men do. So then if that's the stigma and men come ready, if you don't come ready, obviously a woman gonna be there looking at you like what's wrong? You feel me?
But what is ready?
Like when it's time to get it in, your dick should be hard.
Yeah, but what if you just found out that your grandma passed? We
had women on our show. They said that men, it don't matter. Like they should still get hard. Like, you know what I mean?
If you don't fuck when your grandma died.
I would be so interested to know A, how old that person was. B, how many books they have read. C, if they actually I don't want to judge anybody, but that is a very low level thought process to sexuality, and I feel bad for that person because they're not really busting good nuts.
She's like what, 22?
Yeah,
not around there somewhere.
Prefrontal cortex, not even formed, right? Like your brain's not even fully formed. So you're talking out the side of your neck, literally.
And she did say it's giving after every sentence, so we know.
Oh, what does that even mean?
That was the name of the episode too. It's giving. So, get into my next topic. We often watch pornos, we see, women squirt left, right, up and down like there's a fire hose and shit like that. So men want to know, what exactly is squirting? Is squirting piss? Or like what is that liquid specifically?
Great question. I really appreciate this question. I'd like to go back to the science. Okay. The science says, or kind of indicates to us that, one, there is no G spot that you can push and go like an elevator to the top of the nutland, okay? That's not a thing. It doesn't exist. It's not real, okay?
Wait, you're saying the G spot is not real?
It is not I'm saying it's not a like place that you can like push
you can find
and be like, ding.
Yeah.
Right.
That's not a thing. But you think about a couple things. So me as my clit. This is like a clit, right?
Right.
Okay. We only see like bloop, this part, the little bud part, right?
Right.
Shout out to that part.
Hello, because she's shining today. Okay. So in the vulva, remember vulva, this is the little part that we see. Okay. But internally, this thing is it's about three inches, and it kind of sits behind and kind of goes between the labias, right? And down. So oftentimes people think this little space right here on the top of the interior, it feels kind of like a walnut. People oftentimes think that, oh, that's the G-spot. But really, what is happening? Hello? Think about where the clit is. It is internal stimulation by the penis on the kind of back half of the clit, right? Now, this is where it gets confusing, interesting, whatever. You asked me about the milky substance. There is female ejaculation, and then there's squirting. Female ejaculation, science considers that to come from the Skene glands. The Skene glands sit like literally right below the urethra, okay? And then internally, I wish I had an internal diagram so you could see that right behind like the pubis mound and the clitoris is where the bladder sits, okay? So let's start with female ejaculation. Female ejaculation is more of a gushing. This squirting stuff, that is definitely a fluid.
They be doing that on their own though, right? Is that like
That's
they'll
urine.
push the button?
The pee, that is the pornos, that is urine.
Oh,
Wouldn't it be flying through the air with such force?
Yeah, that shit is like a fucking
Urine.
fire hose. I'm like, what?
Urine.
So they just be peeing?
Oh yeah.
Oh shit.
But
Niggas be having their
They be
mouth
drinking it. They be mouth all up in.
oh yeah, that's a whole fetish.
I mean,
So and you know, urine's sterile. But so female ejaculation, however, is produced in the Skene gland. The Skene gland is very similar to the prostate in a man. Okay? So some women will ejaculate from the Skene gland. Not everybody, not all women, okay? So we need to stop this myth of shaming women that are like, I have never squirted like a porn star across the room, right?
Yeah.
Now, squirting can happen as you are orgasming, right? And just because you've orgasmed doesn't mean you are going to female ejaculate. That's the difference between men and women. Men usually orgasm and ejaculate. Women can orgasm, have the pulsing, and fluid can come out, and that can be a release from some of the fluid in the urethral sponge when you're pulsating.
Got you.
The Skene gland can also release fluid, but it's not gonna shoot out. That's gonna be more of a gush, and it could be a milkier substance because it's made of similar enzymes to what is in the prostate. We are much more alike than we are different when it comes to our reproductive organs.
so like when women about to squirt, they say like it feels like they gotta pee. So is it? I'm trying to ask you, like, but it's not pee, is what you're saying.
It has, this is why it's confusing and why there's no scientific, like this has been, don't think like, am I sounding dumb over here? You're not. Because even sexual scientists go back and forth on this.
Okay.
Because there is not that button. And guess what? All women orgasm differently.
Yeah.
All women experience, just like all men, experience orgasm differently. All people experience orgasm differently. So when I say that it is some fluid from the urethral sponge, it doesn't necessarily mean that it is urine, because even if somebody empties their bladder before intercourse, like they actually did a scientific study where they had women empty their bladder prior to stimulation, and they still managed to produce a little bit of this fluid. So it is, they think from the urethral sponge, a little bit of a secretion, but it's not necessarily, it's clear, usually odorless.
Yeah, because I was always wondering, like, all right, not to be too direct, but like, you know how like you guys are having sex, and then when a dude usually takes his dick out or whatever the case may be, his penis out, and it has like that white residue, like I assumed that was like a female's nut.
It could be, but also depending on the time during the
Because when you're doing it, you kind of see it when you're stroking a female. So.
Again, during the menstrual cycle, women have discharge.
Okay.
And after, and again, this is not to say that after, like when you see that a woman is post-fertile phase, but usually after you have passed an egg and you're not pregnant, the discharge that women have naturally can be a little thicker and whiter. It's totally normal. This is just totally normal, right? During intercourse, it could be a lot of things. It could be, if you're using a condom, which I hope everyone is, it could—
Safe sex.
Yeah, hello, is the best sex.
Or get in a relationship so you don't got to use it. Though.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah. But it could just be a shedding of the skin cells. If she wasn't fully aroused, it could be full on that she has a very active skein gland and that she is female ejaculating with you. If you're in a relationship, you're probably having kind of deep, passionate, maybe kind of sex. And so there's a high likelihood that you really doing it for your partner.
Appreciate myself. Get myself in the bag.
So
don't gas. Yeah, it could be.
But I'm
gonna go with it. It could be. You know,
I'm saying it could be because I'm not there, and I don't want to act like I'm a medical doctor. But there are a lot of reasons that could be the case.
Okay.
I think though, we shouldn't be afraid of bodily fluids and things that come out of us when we are having intercourse with a person. And if you are, again, maybe you're not ready for intercourse with that person.
Definitely.
Or maybe you need to sit down and be like, why am I so like hard up to get a nut that I just think this is disgusting? Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, we're grown.
Facts.
Yeah.
Agree.
Let me see what else we got here. You said, so the semen retention, you said there's not enough information about. So where will people, because, we have this no nut November type of situation, where obviously you're not supposed to, as a man, you're not supposed to ejaculate because it helps with productivity and things of that nature. Where would that come from then? Because I'd imagine that just doesn't come out of nowhere.
I mean, I have my personal opinions, so I can share those with you. I can't say that they are fact. I think have you ever heard of an incel?
Yeah.
You know where it comes from?
I don't know the history.
It's like chosen celibacy.
Okay, I mean, okay.
So when men start, because it's interesting to see the type of men who choose to do No Nut November and how much they hate women.
I've never thought about that ever.
Yeah,
I've never participated in it, but I'm saying that is really a thing.
But think about the people who really go hard on this and then what their perspectives are on women and what their gender ideologies are. And you start to be like, you could get in this really creepy rabbit hole of like, whoa.
I think that's tough to say, because I would argue that women that always want to use sex toys and say like, I don't need a man, we could argue and say they might hate men.
Who are those women?
We could say they might hate men as well. You know what I mean? I'd rather have a toy. We could say they
I think we should peel back layers to what type of relationship experiences and what type of trauma have those women experienced. I don't think we're asking the wrong question.
Right.
I know, and that's what makes it hard, because it's like, as men, we always got to make the approach. I find it that a lot of females don't feel comfortable enough to even explain or express themselves on how they want to have sex, or past trauma, even probably being molested or stuff like that. So it's so hard for a man, because it's like you don't know how to bring it up. Then you're hoping she brings it up. Then when we do bring it up, they might get offended. So it's just like, it's a double-edged sword.
But that's why it's important for us to continue to have conversations just like these, because just like women have been molested, so have a lot of black men. And
but we don't have that room to share those feelings with women being compassionate towards us.
That is the fucking problem. And that is why I'm saying these types of conversations have to continue, and why I got into the work that I do. It's not to teach people how to bust good ass nuts. It's to help heal our fucking community.
Yeah.
Because our inception in this nation is rooted in the exploitation of our bodies to produce more slave labor.
True.
Furthermore, you look at the 19th century and the idea of where the big black cock comes from. It comes from a eugenicist out of France, or some French named mother trucker, talking about, well, they're anatomically different and black men are beasts because of our bodies. Black women's bodies were paraded around as these monstrosities. And if the black man is the beast, then the black woman can never be raped. And we have continued to perpetuate that ideology.
Right.
Instead of sitting and saying, let's have some really hard conversations. Because do you know the amount of times in my work experience where, and I'm super grateful that men have felt comfortable telling me this. And like, I would never like, confidentiality is key. And I would never be like, oh, you know what so-and-so said?
Right.
Yeah.
It breaks my heart. Because so many Black men have experienced assault and have never told anyone. And then they somehow, you know, we've normalized it to be like, oh, no. You didn't get raped. You became a man. Because in certain communities, it's not at the hands of a man. It's at the hands of an older woman.
Right. That's
I mean, I worked at Spofford and I've told this story. Do you know, anybody know Spofford in the Bronx?
No.
It's the like Rikers for under 18.
Okay.
And I worked with a lot of young men. And a lot of them, I had a couple in particular who had baby mamas in their late 20s and they were 16.
Wow.
And they were like, I wasn't raped. I was like, sir, you produced a child at 13 years old. I wasn't raped. I've been fucking bitches way older than that for mad long. You was fucking them or were they exploiting you? But because we're not normalizing or even creating a safe space for men to talk about this, because you got, you know, what's her name? Where's that? Or whatever. Talking about you gay. You gay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we had a lot.
I forgot what she said already.
But do you see what I'm saying?
Definitely.
Like we're only continuing to hurt each other.
Right.
So how do you feel like having sexual experiences with older women at a young age? How do you feel like that's affecting Black men?
Well, one, without sex education, without knowledge, right? You are thrust.
I asked that because a lot of Black men look at that as like a good thing, like it's like a trophy to say like I had an older woman when I was young.
Because it makes them feel like a man?
I guess so.
So now we're utilizing a forced sex act or a coerced sex act as the marker of manhood.
Yeah.
Similarly to how we identify violence as the marker of manhood.
Yeah, I think Lil Wayne said that he was raped by an older woman when he was younger, but he kind of made light of it. Like, you know what I mean? He used the word rape, but then kind of made light of it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and it's like, that's nothing to kind of, I get where you coming from because it's not taken seriously because most women are like, oh, well, you enjoyed it. So like, you know what I mean? Like, so there's not really a space, like you said, for men to really express those type of experiences because nobody will take it seriously. It's like, nigga, man up, like, or something like, you know what I mean?
And it's hard.
Yeah.
And for a man to have feelings, to feel, that's a very, I mean, I've been sexually assaulted, a child, more than once, and it is not pretty, right? Because somebody has taken something from you, somebody has violated you. And for women, we can go out, and even if we don't report it, right, which I never formally reported it because going through the system is like assault all over again, right? It's experiencing the trauma over and over. But for men, right, if you go out and say that, not only have you been violated and traumatized because you were coerced,
humiliated,
right, and humiliated, emasculated, right? Then when you go out and you try to tell somebody, nobody believes you. Now you gay, now you this, now you that. So why would you?
The women love throwing out that gay word all
I mean,
the time.
there's some dudes that throw that at you too. Because if you go to a dude and you be like, yo, shorty just raped me. Nigga, you gay. Like, nigga, what are you talking? What you complaining about? Send her over here. And
right. Say some shit like
that. And you feel like you can't express that to a dude or a woman. You know what I'm saying? Your mother, your brother. It don't matter.
And we just keep hurting each other. Right. And also, because we have this history, right, of like transgenerational trauma, like it's been going on for so long.
Right.
You know, I worked in like adolescent. I've worked in adolescent youth for a very long time. The amount of times I have had to sit across from parents and be like, did they ever disclose that something may have happened to them sexually, right? And then I've heard parents be like, well, they said something, but you know. They was asking for it, or they was, I mean, some very, like, but then you start to think about, well, if that is what a parent would say, what trauma did they experience?
Right.
Because we have normalized it, and transgenerationally, literally, we were raped and and forced into like labor for as chattel.
Mm.
And I know this is like, people are like, God damn, this podcast took a dark turn. Where's the dicks, right? And I try to lighten it up.
No, true.
But it's important that I got into this work for Black men. I love Black men.
That's
shout out to you.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Right.
And I'm sorry you had to go through that as well with your experience, your trauma. I'm sorry you had to go through that.
I mean, yes, but we need Black men to start saying that to all Black women, and Black women to say it to Black men. Like, we need to start saying it to each other, because it's happening to us at rates that you would not believe. I worked PR for years ago for the Congressional Black Caucus. And I will never forget, this is when I was like just finishing grad school and just getting started. And I had a woman, another volunteer, come up to me the day of Sunday brunch, and Obama was still in office. So this was many years ago. And we were like chatting, you know. She's like, what do you do? I was like, I'm a sexologist. And she was like, oh my God, I've never met anybody that does that. And I was like, yeah. And she disclosed to me that she had been molested at 8 years old.
Wow.
And she said, I'm 68 years old and I've never uttered those words to anybody in my life.
Wow.
And it broke my heart that woman carried that with her for 60 plus years. And it made me wonder, how did that impact all of her decisions in relationships, in picking partners, in parenting, in self-love? And I have no idea who that woman is, and I have no idea where she is now, but I really hope that her being able to tell me that gave her a little
like relief.
Yes.
Yeah.
And because you just look at somebody and say, I'm really sorry that happened to you, and you're not alone, and it wasn't your fault, right?
True.
But we don't take the time to do that, because we want to be like, Mwah!
Yeah, it is unfortunate. Before we get up out of here, I do want to speak on, because ultimately I want to know how men and women can better learn and better express to each other how we could satisfy each other. So on our show specifically, we had women, for example, a woman said, this is a lesbian woman, and she said, oh, men don't know how to eat pussy. So we like, oh, that's fair, but are you teaching them how to, how to eat your pussy? And she's like, no. Like, so we're like, as men, how do we learn how to, every woman's body is different. So what might have worked with the last
like
one.
a fingerprint.
Yeah,
like,
so it's like, how do we know if women don't feel the need to communicate, because they automatically assume that we're supposed to know what we're doing in bed, and that's not always the case. We have plenty of women who assume that men are just supposed to know what they're doing. They don't feel the need to communicate, because if they communicate, it's like, well, nigga, you don't know what you're doing. I'm wasting my time here. You know what I mean? They only have either one, maybe two. If you have a bad sex performance on the first try, you probably won't get a second try. You know what I mean? Because of, I'm not going to communicate to you. I gave you one shot. That was it. I'm not going to go for a second shot. So I guess my question would be, how do we get to the point where we start getting more comfortable with asking these questions and having these conversations? Do we need more sex education? Like, when should that be taught to people? Like, I'm trying to find some type of solution.
I think, again, I need everybody to advocate for quality sex education at a federal level by calling your representatives and asking them for REA, which Cory Booker and a whole host of other Democratic representatives wrote. REA is the Real Education and Access to Healthy Youth Act. And that would provide federal funding so that every state could get quality sex education. It would also remove access to abstinence-only programs, and they would stop funding those, which, by the way, since 1981, $2.1 billion in the United States has been dumped into abstinence-only programs, the programs that tell people to chew up gum and spit it out, and that is what sex is, okay? Wow. So we need to mobilize, first of all, and we need to advocate for sex ed. Secondarily, we need to educate ourselves.
True.
And we need to heal. So I always suggest that people go on a sexual journey of themselves. Like we talked about No Nut November. If you're just gonna go No Nut November so you can hashtag it, let's not do that. If you're gonna do it as a meditative practice, right? Maybe it's not No Nut November, but it's a celibacy season. Yeah. And you masturbate, but make your masturbation a ritual and start to identify as a man what you like. What kind of environment do you want? Because I don't need to see your dirty drawers, your Glock 9 on the nightstand, like, which has happened before. Like, no one, like, that's not sexy. It kind of seems cold.
Actually,
like,
some women do find stuff dangerous, shit like that sexy. Like,
again, you should be asking yourselves, why is that? Why is that woman looking for that?
Right.
And what comes 10 months down the line? Or if this woman ends up my baby mama and she used to get excited because she saw my Glock 9. First of all, why do you have a Glock? A lot of questions there. But I think those are all questions you should be asking yourself.
Right.
Indeed.
Like, I think how do we teach men? How do we teach women? First of all, I don't think men know because you've always been told you just get hard and that's what it is. Or you watch porn and you're like, my dick's supposed to get hard. I put it in her mouth. I put it in her vagina, maybe to her butt. Please don't go ass to mouth or ass to vagina because those chemicals don't need to mix.
Right.
But my point is, what really turns you on?
Right.
I feel like men are willing to guide women in that way. Like, so if like a woman is giving you oral, we'll let them know like, oh, you getting too teethy or you need to put some more spit on. We guide them. I feel like with women just expect us to know.
Well,
either you know or you don't know. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, but women, I think there is a fear, right? Like I'm a petite woman, right? If I was to tell a man who's much larger, and remember, I have trauma. I have a history of trauma that I do carry with me. I don't want to upset it. Like, even though I feel very well adjusted, one of the things I always do is I tell my partner, you know, before we have any intercourse, I have a history of trauma. So there may be something that, like one time a dude was like, I can lick your titties. I was like, okay, we stopping right now. Because you were, not to say I don't like power asserted, when it's consensual, when it's predetermined, we have to start talking about sex in real ways prior to actually fucking. It's not gonna happen all the time. Sometimes you get caught in a rapture, honey. I know I have. Woo-wee. But
That's the best one.
I love them, all right? You know, you be somewhere like, oh, right? But I think that a part of being able to be caught in the rapture is understanding, like, what my body feels like when I'm being aroused. What is it?
Right.
Is it the way they look at me? Is it the cologne they have on? Is it, because, I mean, honey, but I'm really in touch. Like, my Spank Bank Rolodex is on fucking fire, okay? Like, shout out to all the people who made the cut, okay?
Shout out to you.
But I think that it's really, we're not conscious. I don't think a lot of us are conscious to what we really like in the bedroom.
Right.
That's the only thing y'all not, because y'all be cursing us out by everything else. Y'all real vocal on that. But when it comes to pleasure, I feel like that's so backwards. Y'all could tell men how to be a man, but you can't tell a man how to pleasure you. It's mind-boggling.
We don't have the language. Television tells us how men are supposed to be. Men tell us how men are supposed to be.
Y'all ain't listening to that shit?
Well, hold on. Because there are gender roles. And as a woman, I'm told I'm only allowed to do this, that, and the other. You know, there's a wage gap, but ironically enough, the orgasm gap is bigger between men and women. So we have to start dismantling these gender stereotypes, right? You know, I am kind of into a beta type of man.
Yeah.
But usually beta men behind closed doors are more alpha, right?
Really?
And so there's this, we all need to do a little more homework. We need to be more honest with ourselves about our own, like, I'm pretty sure something about your body makes you uncomfortable, right? Like, we all have something. That's actually the way your body looks is one of the greatest fears for adults during sex, right? Oh God, are they gonna think I look good enough?
Got people with the lights off, or
right,
you know,
right? But how often do men actually even think about that? Like, it could be your motherfucking left toe has got a funk on it. Ain't no acting to nectin in your shoes, your house, right? Maybe that's so you fuck with socks on, which I think is so weird.
Yeah.
Right?
I gotta be butt ass naked. I don't know.
But you see what I'm saying? Like, I think there are a lot of men who lie to themselves. And so they can't actually get in touch with their true sensuality because that's soft. Now you gay, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever. But when you can really get into sensuality, and tap into your senses, you can really connect on a much higher sexual frequency.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's fair, man. I think it just boils down to communication, on both parties. I think if we could start having better communication and using the language, like you said, we could probably be better off. Like, you know what I mean? Sexually, that could just be for anything too, just as far as relationship dynamics, just in general. But
one more thing.
Sure.
And I've been saying this on every podcast. Please don't edit this. I'm gonna need all these black men out here to fucking rise up and start fighting for abortion rights, okay? I done taken a knee, I done taken to the street, I've done the demonstration, and now we must move on to legislation to protect black women and the rights to their bodies. And everybody wanna talk about Kevin Samuels and bitches being 7s and women being 6s and this, that, and the other, but nobody is really paying attention to how quickly women are losing their reproductive rights. How quickly we are seeing things like CRT being removed. That's Black history. That ain't nothing but Black history. Don't say gay bill. What's next? You can't say sexuality, which I don't think in Florida you can. So how do we get closer to having good sex? If we have repressive laws that are not even at the forefront, honey, it's DoorDash. They finna ring the doorbell, okay? And it will only send our communities backwards, because if you look at the states that this is happening in, there are huge numbers of marginalized people of color. And it is a quick pipeline to prison when you grow up in poverty. So we really, listen, I did all the marching in 2020. I will continue to march for a black man, but I really, really need to encourage black men to get behind this abortion rights fight. Educate yourself, know your state laws. Identify local clinics, communities, organizations that you can donate to. If you don't want to donate to Planned Parenthood, I can't tell you who to donate to. They're a big funder, but there are also a lot of really great organizations. Texas, Jane's Due Process. There are organizations all over the country. Please educate yourself, because it is, I cannot stress it enough. My boobs and my armpits are sweating because it makes me scared. It's happening.
Right.
And we're gonna be fucked. And a lot of men are gonna end up fathers when they did not want to.
I mean,
A lot more, man.
a lot more, man. I'm like, isn't that happening now in the black community? Like,
Wear a condom.
How many states is
I
is
say that all the
law in?
they don't agree with me. I feel like men.
no,
And
I
they're coming out with men's
agree.
birth
I do
control.
agree. No, that is true.
Yeah.
I do
Yeah,
agree with
hormonal
that,
birth
but
control.
sometimes when I feel like women have over 33 forms of contraceptive, and you telling a guy like,
Whoa. How much more time we got? Because do you
I
know
don't
the
even
type
know.
of shit?
Like,
Do you know the type of shit that those hormones do to our bodies?
That's fair. That is fair. I
And
understand.
plus, you got the loaded gun. Why would you keep putting you? If you
But
know,
my thing
if you
is-
know you don't have a choice in their decision that they're gonna make, why give them that opportunity?
That's fair. That's fair. I give you that, but I just feel like it's a woman's womb and the history of her womb and being single parent. You know what I mean? The history we have in our black community. Why, as a woman, are you not protecting your womb and what goes inside your womb?
And I could say the same thing about a dude when you know
Then
you're about to
that's
get
your
trapped.
seed.
Yeah, you
I
about
get
to get
that.
trapped.
I mean, it takes 2 cells. You know what I'm saying?
I always say sex is an equivalent exchange. Childbirth is one sided. You know what I mean? Like,
So why put yourself in that situation?
but I get what you're saying, but as a woman with the history of single parent households, why would you willingly put yourself in that situation?
Because
that is
listen, that's another episode.
that
You
is
should bring me
our-
back.
Yeah, okay.
But what I will say to that is, because we've been indoctrinated to believe that what makes us a woman is our ability to bear children.
No, that's fair. That is fair.
We have been psychologically told, like, I'm an anomaly because I don't want kids.
Mm.
Because I don't believe I need to have a child crawl out of my womb to raise them. And I've raised children, and I will continue to raise seeds. For all of those people who, at whatever given time, for whatever given reason, aren't able to do that, I have the ability to be a part of a village and many villages where I can help raise up children. And maybe we need to take ourselves back to our ancestors and start looking at life like that a little bit more.
Shit, they had the blueprint. We was better off in
Then
the
the
black
white man
community
came.
at that time. But we appreciate you
Yeah.
for pulling up. This is a great conversation.
Yeah.
I'm not
You
gonna-
had a question.
I did.
You were about to ask me how many states are up to lose.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I know. Was it Texas that recently passed a bill to stop abortions? Like how many states stop?
So Texas just passed. Florida just reduced the weeks from, I think, 21 to 15. Iowa just passed a statute. If Mississippi falls, which would be the end of Roe v. Wade, 26 states could change their laws with the stroke of a pen. There would be no court. There would be no hearing. It would be the stroke of a pen.
Do you think that, and I know we going over, but if you could make this simple as possible, do you think this law is being passed to try to like preserve whiteness or preserve the birth rates? Because there's studies to show that the birth rates in America is declining, you know, so some people might equate this law to kind of help, you know, with that birth rate either being at a steady pace or kind of increasing. Like, do you think that has anything to correlate with each other?
I think it has to do with capitalism. Right? I think the direct root is capitalism. The idea that if we can further oppress people who are already oppressed, we in power can stay in power. We know what the science says about single parent homes, regardless of color, right? Let's go beyond color.
Right.
Look at the socioeconomics of a 2-parent home versus a 1-parent home. Right. Furthermore, how about the legacy of generational wealth?
Right.
How do you build that when you're just trying to feed your children while living in the projects, which if you look at how projects are set up, oftentimes they're set up in areas that are environmentally not as safe, which can lend itself to the high asthma rates of people of color. Additionally, those same poverty-stricken communities do not have access to good food. When you don't have access to good food, you have higher rates of...
Ain't no Whole Foods in the hood, I'll tell you that.
Hello? You have higher rates of poverty. You have higher rates of diabetes, heart disease, obesity. You know, then as somebody who worked in schools for many, many years, if you living in a food desert and you eating Cheetos for breakfast, how are you going to stay awake for your 3rd class, your 4th class? Now you sleeping in class. Now your grades are slipping. Now you're having sugar crashes in the middle of the day. And now we have to put you on the disciplinary track. That is a quick pipeline to prison.
Right.
And once again, we are enslaved. Yeah, so we have to understand that this isn't about, I get so sick of people saying, it's the white man trying to let people kill all black babies. It's like, nah. It's the right for a person, a woman with a uterus, a person with a uterus to have the right to bodily autonomy, which again, we could do a whole other episode on bodily autonomy and how black people in America and brown people in America have never actually had that. Because guess what? Black men don't even have bodily autonomy. Because guess what can always happen? I think it's called stop and frisk. Where do they touch you?
Everywhere.
Whoops, everywhere. That's not bodily autonomy. When they grabbing all on your nuts, thinking you got a stash there, that's not bodily autonomy. So I believe in a world where we realize reproductive justice. Reproductive justice is the idea that everybody has the right to bodily autonomy to make decisions about when to have a child, how to bring that child into the world, as well as a safe and sustainable environment to raise that child. While everybody was taking a knee for George, I was standing up for his daughter because she deserves a world where that can be realized. Just like George's mother deserved that. Just like every other mother who has lost her son at the hands of gun violence and police brutality.
True.
I mean, this shit is really deep. I hope everybody had their floaties.
You gave me a couple ideas for maybe another episode that we'll have. I'm pretty sure.
I know, we need to do something live. We need to get up. We need to get a big black man's panel together.
I don't like how you said that big black. You could have just said black men, like, you know what I mean? Like, oh man.
I could have been like, we need to get a panel of big black men.
All right, so I think it's time to end the show here.
Anyway, again, we appreciate you for pulling up. Let them know where they can follow you at.
Yeah, you can follow me at MHSexpert. I'm there. I'm not really that exciting online because I'm sure people don't. I mean, I want you to come and join. The shenanigans on the stories are funny. I like to crack jokes.
Okay.
Come. She teach you how to come.
I will teach you how to come.
Yeah.
Come through. Come through.
I just got you a slogan right there.
We appreciate y'all for tuning in. Make sure y'all hit the like button, man. It helps us out. And make sure y'all get the merch, dailyrapupcrew.com. You know, I got one on right now. You know what I mean?
You feel me?
Appreciate y'all for tuning in.